All right, so here we have our nice readout. It looks like everything spit out just fine, and we're going to clean it up really quick. I won't walk through this each time. I'll just do it once and you'll get the idea. It seems like a lot of work, even if you don't know and you're not familiar with spreadsheets, it's okay. We'll keep it relatively easy. The reason we do all of this and we keep this raw sheet is so we can always go in and reference. We want our dashboard for us to be able to go back and reference, well, what did 30 days look like for a certain ad set against the weighted attribution model that we're working to make optimizations and what the 7-day click attribution platform says. So let's say we're looking at a change in an ad set over time and we're like, well, this was doing well. We had a 1.5 return, which is acceptable for a growing startup that is more about volume than profitability, let's say. In this case, that's exactly what this is. We would look back and say, well, the overall platform ROAS is 1.5, but it looks like the weighted attribution was more like 1.7. So we can go back and see what happened during that time, and then we can make a decision there. Or if it was, let's say our weighted attribution says this is actually lower than what this suggests, then we know for sure that maybe this particular ad set in this prospecting campaign is in decline. Anyway, just always want to be able to throw in some methodology when I can. Here's what we'll do since we have all these little clean tabs that have nothing in them right now. We're going to grab, okay, this actually says account name, but for some reason it's hidden. We're gonna grab all of these cells. You can do that, or you can hold down Command or Control, and you can see that will move to each corner. You can hit Control or Command if you're using Apple, and Shift. That will automatically go in either direction. If you hold Shift, it's not like this is an Excel lesson, but it just kind of shows you the capabilities there. As long as you're taking the whole box, you're going to go up to Insert, and you're going to insert Pivot Table. Now it's going to ask where you want an existing sheet. We're going to say here, which location. Let's do that one more time. We're going to say existing sheet, because we want to use this sheet, and then it's going to ask where. We're going to click 45 days and click A1. So 45 clean, A1, and create. So now, bam, we have our little pivot table. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's okay. All we're doing is organizing our names. We're going to drop the campaign name in row, and just as it suggests, that's by row. If we did it by column, it would show up by columns. We want it by row, and then we want our ad set name by row here. And then what we want to do is we want to unselect show totals, and we want to say repeat row values for campaign. And what that did, if I expand this out, is it just made it so it's showing us all the ad sets in this campaign, but we want Google Sheets to be able to reference that each time we drag this over. So now we're going to come over and we're going to grab our spend in values. So now we're able to see the cost of our values over time. And I know that's the same thing that we see here, but this pivot will allow us to easily calculate what we're doing later on. So this is what we want to do. It seems a little backwards at first, but we want to grab in our cost, our total purchases, omni-channel. Oh, definitely want to keep costs in there. Sometimes it'd be goofy. Spend, conversions. Now we want to bring in the value as well from a 7-day omni click. Oops. We're pivoting it out because we do want to make sure that every time we pivot something, if we add, let's say, a new ad set, that will automatically go through the pivot table, whereas if we did it before and we were trying to add something new here, every time this repasted, it would shift over the cells we were referencing. And we just want to be able to sort by ad campaign and ad set name, which we could technically do. In the coupler, we can take off all those metrics, type them all back in, making sure that campaign name and ad set was first, but this is just easier again, and it's also going to help us when we are referencing these cells. What does that mean? I'll show you. It means that when we go into this modeling template here, we're going to say this cell will equal A2. So this is clean A2. So that will give us that testing matrix, and then if we drag this over to add group, we'll have it automatically reference cell B2, which is where this is located. And now we're going to be able to grab spend, purchases, and value, or conversions, revenue in this case, over to these columns here. So before we do that, we're going to go drag these two all the way down, probably about here. I was going to say we'll probably lose some. That's all right. We're going to keep this all the way down to maybe like 50 or so. So that way, just in case new ad groups appear, we'll be able to see them here. So here's the plan. I'm going to run through this one more time quickly with 30, and then I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to do it with 14 and 7. You probably get where I'm headed here, so if you want to skip ahead in our video, that's important too. We're just going to get to the final feed and how we're going to use this information moving forward. So I will do that now. Yeah, 30 days. Table. Wish I could play some nice music there, background. Which I guess I could, but I'm not going to. I don't know what music taste you like. What if it's not what I like? Then what? And if we ever want to calculate CPA, which we will, it's better to not grab cost per purchase from here and put it in, because if we do that, it's going to average out something. We don't want a sum of our CPA. A CPA is an average of these two sums. So putting it into this table doesn't really make a ton of sense here. So there we go. We got our readout here, which is perfect. And now I'm going to pause it and do that in 14 and 7. I'll be right back. All right, that's taken care of. It looks like if you notice, from 45 days to 30, you'll see we've reduced from 35 rows to 31 rows to 18 rows, obviously making a ton of optimizations, finding things that work, trying to find the high dollar items that are mostly retargeting, but that's because our prospecting through multiple channels, especially Meta, are getting the job done. So 7-day is even smaller, but we can see that we've cleaned everything up. The next thing we're going to do is reference these things, which is why we grab this from the 45-day. That way, anytime we reference this, we'd be able to drop in the costs in each stage, which is pretty neat. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll we'll reference. It's called a VLOOKUP. And what that's going to do is it's going to ask Google Sheets to look for this value in E2, and then a range, which I'm going to go into this clean here and go 1, 2. So I'm going to say look for that value between B and C columns, and then return me the second column's value if it does show up. So what that just says is, for instance here, look at bartender pack 3. If it exists, pull the value from the second column. It's that simple. So I'll include this in the documentation with the program, obviously, but we look up here into the range of now 30 days. No, sorry, 45. And I'm going to pull through 3 columns because I'm looking to pull in the amount of purchases. So now I'm going to say reference the third column. So you're still referencing column B to find the name, and now you're going to all 3 columns and returning the third column's value. Not that you need to know what that means, but I just want to explain what I'm doing. I'll walk through this whole thing just in case we need it. But if not, you can skip ahead if you're familiar with VLOOKUPs. but I'm going to do a little bit of a thing. Come the 30 days, I'm going to do what's called an if error, so we don't have our formula messed up, because we're going to use this to feed our formula here. But feel free to stick around for 30 days, and then you can probably skip ahead. So now I'm looking at revenue. So now it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And now I'm going to ask this for the CPA, which obviously the cost divided by the amount of purchases is our cost per purchase. And I'm going to drag that column down. And then row S as well, revenue divided by cost. There we go. So now we have 45 days here ready to go. Probably minimize this row to just this number, so it's a little bit more compact. Same here. I know this is technically dollars, but we're going to leave it in. Decimal form. So now we're going to come in here and we're going to say if error, and now we're going to look VLOOKUP. So I know that might be a little confusing. We're just putting a formula in a formula. So now it's still going to reference this search key. We're still going to look for this key. Still going to find the range, but now it's 30-day clean. We're going through 2, and then that false. And now if I hit comma, it's going to say, well, what's the value if an error? So find the same value that you would before we did with 45 days, but now if there's nothing, just return nothing. So we have to put that in quotes. Otherwise, Excel or Google Sheet Docs won't understand what you're referencing. So it's saying just put nothing, which in this case, we can see nothing exists. But if we drag this formula down, there we see we have the ad sets that we're currently running against. So now we'll do the same thing here. And I know this is a lot, but this is you only have to do this once. You really do, because rarely in this model or in general are you going to have more campaigns, than you have in your 45-day period. But if you, just in case, you can always just drag this all the way down, and it'll always go and grab, any campaigns that'll show up in 45. Like, if anytime you add something, it's going to be there, regardless, because it's still referencing the 45-day period. But we know that most of the time we trim up in 7 days. So most of the time it's going to be smaller. But if you add something new, it'll be caught here and it'll be able to reference it closer to 7 days, if that makes sense. It's always going to show up here. It's like our little catch-all here. So now we're going to do purchases, if error, VLOOKUP. I'm going to look at the ad group name. This time we're doing the third column. I'm going to have it do that. If reference nothing, if there's no values, just leave it blank. You can just copy and paste this from the document. But if not, if you want to feel nerdy like me, come on here and do it. Go do a lookup. It feels like you're doing something. Feels like you're coding, which I should have learned. Never learned how to code, but that's okay. We're in a world where not too many people know how to code, but a lot of people are learning. Anyway, so now we're going to add another if error here. If error. So if not an error first is basically how this works. First, we're going to say cost per purchase. So cost divided by purchase. If error blank. Suggested autofill. Hey, look, and it caught all of it, even the blank ones. So we're going to say yes. And now here, if error revenue divided by cost. If not, nothing. And autofill again. Hooray, so we got it there. Now we're going to do that same thing for 14 days. I'll keep recording just in case you want to see it. But if not, feel free to skip to where you see the screen change. It'll probably be a couple minutes from now, and we'll see how we take all of this math and make it all nice and fun here. We're going to do it all in this final pivot, and then we're going to feed it according to our weighted attribution here, and then we'll be good. The reason I'm torturing myself like this, if you're watching for some reason, is just so you get the feel for it. Just so you get the feel. I know it can be kind of tough if you've never been in here before, but we do offer this service because it is kind of a pain since you're running your business, but it is worth it. A lot of brands swear by this now. We're happy to have found a reason to make this so available. Kind of excited about it, truthfully. Kind of neat to be able to have discovered something. Every so often, someone comes along and they discover kind of a hack and it becomes an industry thing. I think this is starting to become an industry thing, truly. And you are one of the first adapters of it. Congratulations to that. Ready to be excited about excelling past your old performance benchmarks. Knew something was up there. That didn't make any sense. 2, 3, 4. So you can always check yourself. Great. There we go. We did it. So in the next step, we're going to look into how we take this nice, lovely piece of information that took a while to get there. I know it's just basically combining these three clean pieces, but it's easy to reference. You don't have to keep organizing and sorting like this will keep everything from just breaking essentially. So we'll see you in part 3.